Some cars were never meant to be remembered, built in secrecy, tested in the shadows, and then wiped from history. These 12 American machines disappeared without a trace. Were they too powerful, too dangerous? Or was there something even more shocking behind their erasure? The truth has been hidden for decades, but not anymore. Get ready to uncover the most mysterious lost cars in American history. The 1948 Tucker 48, often called the Torpedo, was more than just a car. It was a revolution on wheels. A bold statement that American automobiles could be safer, faster, and more technologically advanced than ever before. It was the dream of one man, Preston Tucker, who refused to accept the idea that Detroit's Big Three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, were the only ones who could shape the future of the automobile. He believed that cars could be built better, that safety and innovation should be priorities, not afterthoughts. But in a world where power, money, and influence dictated success, the Tucker 48 was doomed before it even had a chance to fight. Tucker had a vision of a car unlike anything else on American roads. He saw a future where automobiles were safer and more efficient, and he wasn't afraid to think outside the box. The Tucker 48 had features that were decades ahead of their time. Its most striking design cue was the Cyclops eye, a center headlight that turned with the steering wheel to illuminate the road ahead. It had a rear-mounted flat-six engine originally designed for aircraft use, giving it an incredible power-to-weight ratio. Its doors wrapped into the roof, making entry and exit easier. It was built with a reinforced passenger compartment and a roll bar integrated into the roof for crash protection, while the dashboard was padded and the windshield was designed to pop out in a collision to reduce the risk of injury. Compare this to what the Big Three were offering in 1948. Cars built with technology from the 1930s, minimal safety features, and outdated engineering. The Tucker 48 made them look archaic, and that was exactly what scared them the most. When Preston Tucker announced his car, people lined up in droves to place orders. Over 150,000 potential buyers expressed interest. The public loved the idea of a high-performance, high-safety vehicle built with cutting-edge technology. But success breeds enemies, and Tucker quickly found himself facing opposition from the most powerful forces in the automotive industry. The Big Three didn't just dislike Tucker, they wanted him gone. Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler had built an empire on slow, incremental change. Every year they'd slightly modify their cars, change a few body panels, and call it a new model. They were making enormous profits, and they didn't want some upstart engineer threatening the system. They had influence, deep pockets, and political connections. They could afford to play dirty, and that's exactly what they did. First, they attacked Tucker's supply chain. Suddenly, parts suppliers that had agreed to work with him began pulling out, claiming they had contracts with other manufacturers that prevented them from doing business with him. Then, the press started running negative articles about the Tucker 48, claiming it was unsafe, unreliable, and a scam. At the same time, rumors spread that Tucker was financially unstable, leading potential investors to walk away. The final blow came when the government stepped in. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, launched an investigation into Tucker's business, claiming that he had misused investor funds. They accused him of fraud, claiming that he was taking people's money without the ability to deliver on his promises. It was a coordinated effort to crush him before he could truly get started. Despite these attacks, Tucker fought back. He managed to build 51 Tucker 48s before the government seized his company's assets and shut down production. But by then, the damage had been done. Even though he was later acquitted of all charges, his company had been dismantled, his factory sold off, and his dreams shattered. The 51 cars that Tucker managed to produce were marvels of engineering, and those who drove them knew that history had been robbed of something special. The car was powerful, smooth, and incredibly advanced for its time. It could hit 120 mph, handled better than most American cars of the era, and offered safety features that wouldn't become standard for another 10 to 20 to 30 years. But Detroit had won. Preston Tucker never recovered. He spent the rest of his life trying to find a way back into the automotive world, but he was blacklisted. No investor would touch him. No manufacturer would work with him. He was locked out of the industry he had tried to revolutionize. He died in 1956, a broken man, knowing that his dream had been stolen from him. Not because it wasn't good enough, but because it was too good. The Tucker 48 was more than a car. It was a symbol of what happens when true innovation threatens established power. The 51 surviving Tuckers are now among the most valuable and sought-after classic cars in the world, reminders of what could have been. Each one is a relic of a future that never came to be, a ghost of a revolution that was crushed before it could take hold. The Tucker wasn't just erased, it was assassinated. The 1954 Cadillac Die Valkyrie was Harley Earl's boldest, most extravagant dream, a car that wasn't just a statement, but a prophecy of the future that never came to be. At a time when American car design was still finding its post-war identity, Die Valkyrie was a full-throttle explosion of excess, a machine that embodied the jet age obsession with speed, style, and spectacle. It was more than just a Cadillac, it was a rolling work of art, the kind of car that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie rather than on the streets. And yet, despite its radical beauty and advanced engineering, it was quietly erased from history, locked away before it had the chance to shape the future Cadillac once envisioned. To truly appreciate Die Valkyrie, you need to understand the man behind it. Harley Earl, the godfather of American automotive design. Earl wasn't just a designer, he was a visionary who had spent decades shaping the look of General Motors cars, pioneering everything from the annual model update to the widespread use of chrome and tail fins. But by the early 1950s, Earl was looking beyond mere styling. He wanted to capture the essence of the jet age, the feeling of flight, of motion, of power barely contained. The world had changed after World War II. Jet planes were replacing propeller-driven aircraft, rockets were beginning to pierce the upper atmosphere, and the idea of futuristic, science fiction-inspired design was taking hold. Earl wanted to bring that vision to Cadillac, and Die Valkyrie was his ultimate expression of that idea. Designed and built in collaboration with the German coach builder Spohn, Die Valkyrie was a behemoth of a car, stretching nearly 20 feet in length. Its presence was impossible to ignore. From the front, it had an aggressive stance, with a towering grille flanked by deeply recessed headlights that gave it an almost sinister look. The body flowed in long, uninterrupted curves, every inch sculpted, to create the illusion of motion even when the car was standing still. But it was the rear end that made Die Valkyrie truly unforgettable. Its tail fins were not just large, they were monumental, rising like Gothic cathedral spires into the air. They were taller, sharper, and more dramatic than anything seen before or since, dwarfing even the later 1959 Cadillac Eldorado's famous tail fins. These weren't just decorative elements, they were a proclamation of Cadillac's dominance in the luxury car market, a symbol of post-war American confidence and ambition. Underneath its extravagant styling, Die Valkyrie was no slouch mechanically. It was built on a Cadillac chassis and featured a powerful V8 engine, ensuring that its performance matched its dramatic looks. The car was designed to be not just a showpiece, but a fully functional grand touring machine. A car meant to glide effortlessly down the highway at speeds few could match. Inside, the interior was as over-the-top as the exterior. Swathed in the finest leathers, with a dashboard that looked more like a cockpit, Die Valkyrie offered a glimpse into what Cadillac interiors could have become if the brand had continued down this radical path. Every detail, from the instrumentation to the switchgear, was designed to make the driver feel as if they were piloting something extraordinary. For a brief moment, it seemed like Die Valkyrie might have a future. It was showcased at exclusive events, whispered about in the design studios of GM, and admired by those lucky enough to see it in person. But then, just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. The problem wasn't the car itself, it was Cadillac's leadership. As much as Harley Earl was pushing for bold, extravagant designs, the corporate executives at Cadillac had a different vision. They wanted something more conservative, something that wouldn't alienate their wealthy clientele. To them, Die Valkyrie was too much. Too extreme, too radical, too ahead of its time. It was a car that belonged in a fantasy world, not in the driveways of their most loyal customers. And so, the project was quietly shelved. Cadillac executives feared that the towering tail fins and radical styling would alienate buyers and push the brand into territory too avant-garde for its audience. Even within GM, there was a growing sentiment that Earl's vision was getting out of control. Die Valkyrie was deemed impractical for mass production, and Cadillac's leadership decided to distance themselves from the car before it could gain traction. The design was watered down, its most dramatic elements stripped away, and the car itself was locked away, never to be seen by the public again. Its influence, however, lingered in the shadows. The dramatic fins of Die Valkyrie were softened and eventually found their way into Cadillac's later designs, culminating in the tail fin craze of the late 1950s. But by then, Die Valkyrie was already a ghost, a forgotten chapter in Cadillac's history. The 1960 Chevrolet CERV II is one of the most fascinating and overlooked chapters in the history of Corvette development. Built by the legendary Zora Arkus Duntov, the father of the Corvette, the CERV II Chevrolet Experimental Research Vehicle I was designed as a testbed for ideas that would eventually shape the future of the Corvette. Despite being a groundbreaking prototype, it was far too advanced for its time and never saw production, leaving it as a hidden gem in automotive history. At the heart of the CERV I was the idea of a mid-engine layout, something that would not be realized in a Corvette until the introduction of the C8 in 2020, nearly 60 years later. Zora Arkus Duntov was a visionary, and he saw the potential in a mid-engine design for the Corvette long before anyone else at GM did. The idea was to create a car that could rival the best European sports cars of the time, such as Ferraris and Porsches, by placing the engine in the middle of the car to improve weight distribution and handling. The CERV II was a dramatic departure from the front-engine V8 layout that was synonymous with Corvettes at the time. It featured a lightweight tubular space frame chassis, making it incredibly nimble and agile, tipping the scales at just under 1,600 pounds. Light enough to be a true performance car. To power this futuristic chassis, Zora used a small block V8 engine, the same type that had already proven its performance potential in the Corvette, but with a key difference. This engine was fuel-injected, a technology that would help push the V8 to its red line with incredible precision and performance. The engine produced around 283 horsepower, a significant amount for its size and era. But more importantly, the way it delivered that power was something that would influence Corvette development for decades to come. The handling of the CERV I was revolutionary. With the engine mounted behind the driver, the car exhibited much better balance, cornering capability, and overall agility compared to the front-engine Corvettes of the day. The suspension was also adapted to accommodate the mid-engine layout, further enhancing the car's dynamic handling characteristics. The CERV I was built for speed, sure, but it was also a demonstration of Zora's belief in performance engineering, where every component was meticulously designed to extract the best performance possible. Despite its groundbreaking design and capabilities, the CERV I was never intended for mass production. The car was built solely as a research vehicle to test the limits of GM's engineering capabilities and to show the company what the Corvette could become in the future. The problem was that GM was not ready for such a radical shift in design. The company's corporate culture at the time was very traditional and focused on the well-established front-engine layout. The mid-engine concept was too radical and unproven for the company's leadership, and they were not ready to take such a big leap forward in the development of the Corvette. So despite its incredible potential, the CERV I was locked away. It was never shown to the public, and as with many prototypes of its era, it was quietly stored out of sight. Some reports suggest that it was kept in a GM warehouse for many years, gathering dust as a mere footnote in Corvette history. Despite the potential it had to change the course of automotive design, the CERV I was left to fade into obscurity. What makes the story of the CERV I even more bittersweet is that it could have been the first true mid-engine Corvette. If GM had embraced the mid-engine layout in the 1960s, the Corvette could have been decades ahead of its time in terms of performance and design. The technology that Zora had pioneered in the CERV I would eventually find its way into the Corvette, but it took more than 50 years for the C8 Corvette to make the mid-engine dream a reality. The legacy of the CERV I remains significant, even though the car itself is largely forgotten by the general public. It was the precursor to all the mid-engine performance cars that followed, both at Chevrolet and across the automotive world. In a sense, it was the first chapter of the mid-engine Corvette story that would only reach its climax in the 21st century. Today, the CERV II is considered a treasure among car enthusiasts and collectors, a symbol of what could have been, and a testament to Zora Arkus Duntov's far-reaching vision for the future of the Corvette. The 1963 Ford Allegro II stands as one of the most tantalizing what-could-have-been stories in automotive history. Long before the world saw the mid-engine Ford GT40 conquer the tracks and make its mark on American automotive legend, Ford had already envisioned a mid-engine sports car, one that was far ahead of its time. The Allegro II was an ambitious and revolutionary attempt by Ford to break into the world of European-style sports cars. Cars that were sleek, lightweight, and built for precision handling. If Ford had pursued the Allegro II, it might have predated the legendary GT40 by years and could have reshaped American performance cars forever. Ford's vision with the Allegro II was clear. They wanted to create a car that would rival Ferrari, Porsche, and other European giants. The 1960s were a time when American automakers were still focused on raw muscle cars, big engines, brute strength, and heavy bodies. But a shift was on the horizon, and Ford's engineers and designers, led by the innovative minds within the company, saw the future of performance vehicles differently. The Allegro II was born out of a desire to create something more refined, more agile, and more European in spirit. A car that could not only excel on the track, but could also establish American automakers as serious competitors in the sports car realm. At the core of the Allegro II's design was its mid-engine layout, a concept that was rare in American cars at the time. The placement of the engine behind the driver is what set the Allegro II apart from its contemporaries. Mid-engine designs were known for their superior weight distribution, which provided greater handling and agility. The Allegro II's low center of gravity meant that it would have been a nimble and dynamic car, perfect for tight corners and high-speed stability, much like the Ferrari and Porsche sports cars it was designed to challenge. The Allegro II was remarkably compact, with a lightweight frame and a small block V8 engine that Ford was known for. This engine was more than capable of delivering the power and torque necessary for a high-performance car. While it wasn't the most exotic or high-tech engine by European standards, it was built for speed and performance, and its low weight was ideal for the car's agile handling characteristics. The Allegro II's design focused on minimalism and efficiency, ensuring that the car could be quick on its feet without the heavy baggage of larger, less efficient engines. The styling of the Allegro II was equally as advanced as its engineering. It featured a sleek and aerodynamic design that looked like it had come straight out of a futuristic sci-fi movie. Ford's design team made sure that the body would offer minimal drag while still being visually appealing. The car had a low-slung stance with clean lines and sharp contours that emphasized its speed and lightness. The Allegro II had a unique visual identity, one that was far ahead of the time and looked like it was ready to compete with the best that Europe had to offer. However, despite the promise of the Allegro II, it was never meant to be. Ford, at the time, was still heavily invested in the muscle car craze and had set its sights on more mass-market models. The Allegro II, while exciting and groundbreaking, didn't fit into Ford's immediate business plans. The company was already focused on their other high-performance projects, most notably the Ford GT40, which was being developed to take on Ferrari at Le Mans. The GT40's success on the track would eventually make it one of Ford's most iconic cars, but in the early 1960s, it was still in the planning stages. The Allegro II, despite being an advanced concept, simply didn't fit Ford's vision for the future. Executives at the time felt that the market wasn't ready for a mid-engine American sports car, and they were hesitant to invest further in a project that didn't align with their mass-market strategies. Ford was also in the process of ramping up its efforts to dominate the American performance scene with the Mustang. And the Allegro II was a niche product that didn't align with the company's goals for the broader market. The Allegro II was quietly shelved, and with it, the dream of an American mid-engine sports car was put on hold. Ford's decision to abandon the Allegro II remains one of the great missed opportunities in American automotive history. Had they decided to push forward with the Allegro II, they could have beaten Ferrari and Porsche to the punch, creating an American answer to the European dominance of the sports car world. The Allegro II could have been the precursor to the GT40, giving Ford a head start in the world of performance cars long before the iconic Le Mans victories. It's a shame that the Allegro II didn't have the chance to shine, as it had the potential to change the way people viewed American sports cars and to lay the foundation for the future of Ford's performance vehicles. The 1964 Pontiac Banshee stands as one of the most intriguing what could have been stories in American automotive history, a car that, had it been allowed to flourish, might have completely altered the course of Pontiac's legacy and challenged the dominance of the Chevrolet Corvette. It was a car that captured the essence of mid-century American performance: lightweight, bold, and full of potential. I was fortunate enough to sit in one of the prototypes, and the experience left an indelible mark on me. The Banshee, I felt like Pontiac's version of the Corvette, a true performance machine that could have rivaled anything Chevrolet had on offer. But instead of letting it soar, GM chose to bury it, and the Banshee never made it past the prototype stage. The Banshee Y, designed by Pontiac in 1964, had the makings of a legendary sports car. It shared many of the characteristics that made the Corvette such an icon: sleek lines, a long hood, a short rear deck, and an aggressive stance. But unlike the Corvette, which had already established itself as a symbol of American performance, the Banshee Y was something entirely new. Pontiac's engineers designed it to be lightweight, with a fiberglass body that kept the car nimble and quick. The low weight was paired with a small block V8, which would have given the Banshee Y a thrilling power-to-weight ratio. The car's design was undeniably futuristic for its time. The Banshee had a striking front end with narrow headlights and a wide, aggressive grille. Its sleek, curvaceous lines made it look fast even when standing still, and the proportions were perfect for a car built for speed and agility. Inside, the Banshee featured a simple, driver-focused cockpit with all the controls you'd expect in a true sports car. No unnecessary luxuries, just pure performance-oriented design. The car felt like it was built for the road, the racetrack, and the future. But despite its clear potential, GM's corporate politics put the kibosh on the Banshee Y. Pontiac at the time was a brand known for its bold performance cars, but the company was under the shadow of Chevrolet, whose Corvette was already the undisputed king of American sports cars. The higher-ups at GM were afraid that Pontiac's entry into the sports car market would cannibalize sales from the Corvette. They didn't want Pontiac stepping on Chevy's toes and potentially stealing some of the Corvette's thunder. As a result, the Banshee was quietly shelved before it could go into production. Instead of the Banshee Y, Pontiac was given the Firebird, which would become one of the brand's most iconic models. The Firebird was a great car in its own right, but it wasn't the Corvette rival that the Banshee could have been. While the Firebird was a muscle car with some sports car elements, it never quite achieved the same level of performance or prestige as the Corvette. The Firebird's platform was based on the Chevrolet Camaro, and while it shared some design cues with the Banshee Y, it was ultimately a different kind of car, more about power and presence than the precise, agile handling that the Banshee promised. The Banshee was a car that could have redefined Pontiac's place in the performance car market. Had GM given Pontiac the green light, the Banshee could have been the brand's answer to the Corvette, setting the stage for Pontiac to rival Chevrolet in the high-performance world. With its lightweight design, potent engine, and futuristic styling, the Banshee could have given the Corvette a run for its money and helped Pontiac carve out its own niche as a maker of iconic American sports cars. Instead, Pontiac was forced to focus on other projects, and the Banshee faded into obscurity. Only a few prototypes were ever made, and those were eventually locked away or destroyed. The car became little more than a footnote in automotive history, a ghost of what could have been. GM's decision to kill the Banshee remains one of the great what-if moments in American automotive history. It's a shame that such a promising car was never allowed to reach its full potential. And we can only wonder what might have happened had Pontiac been given the chance to build the Corvette rival it was so capable of creating. The story of the 1969 Shelby Lone Star, also known as Cobra III, is one of the great lost legends of automotive history, a tantalizing what might have been that continues to captivate car enthusiasts and collectors to this day. Carroll Shelby, the visionary behind the iconic Cobra, had already achieved greatness with the original Cobra, an agile, roaring beast that defined American performance in the 1960s. But Shelby was always pushing the envelope, always dreaming of what could come next. And with the Lone Star, he set his sights on creating a car that could not only follow in the Cobra's footsteps, but surpass them. The Lone Star was no mere continuation of the Cobra's formula. It was an entirely new direction. Shelby envisioned a mid-engine, lightweight, and high-performance car that could rival the best Europe had to offer: Ferrari, Lamborghini, and others. In many ways, it was Shelby's answer to the European supercars of the era, designed with track-ready precision and aggressive performance characteristics that would have made it a fierce competitor on both the road and the racetrack. It's hard not to imagine it as a car that could have taken on the likes of the Ferrari 250 GTO or the Lamborghini Miura had it been given the chance. The key to the Lone Star's design was its mid-engine layout. The decision to place the engine behind the driver wasn't just about creating a car that was fast. It was about creating a car that handled like no other American performance vehicle at the time. Mid-engine cars are known for their exceptional balance and handling, and Shelby knew that by positioning the engine in this configuration, the car would have perfect weight distribution, making it an absolute joy to drive. The lightweight design, combined with an aerodynamic body, would have allowed the Lone Star to carve through corners with precision, offering a driving experience that was a step above anything that had come before it. Under the hood, the Lone Star was powered by a V8 engine that would have produced a significant amount of horsepower. While specifics of the engine's configuration remain somewhat unclear, it is believed that it was a high-performance unit capable of delivering tremendous power and torque. This would have given the Lone Star an exhilarating driving experience, capable of reaching high speeds with ease. The engine's low placement in the rear of the car would have also contributed to the car's exceptional handling, providing the perfect balance between speed and agility. It was, in many ways, a true American competitor to European exotic cars. The design of the Lone Star was as bold and forward-thinking as its performance. With its low, wide stance, the car had an aggressive and dynamic presence that was unmistakable. The long, sweeping lines of the car were designed for both beauty and functionality, with a focus on aerodynamics that was far ahead of its time. The wide front grille, angular headlights, and sharp, sculpted bodywork made it look like a race car ready for the streets. Its rear end was equally dramatic, with flared fenders that hinted at the power beneath the surface. The car was built to go fast, and every line of the design spoke to that purpose. Inside, the Lone Star was stripped down to the essentials, focusing on providing the driver with everything they needed and nothing they didn't. The interior was minimalist but functional, with a focus on the driving experience. The cabin was designed with comfort in mind, but there was no mistaking that the Lone Star was built for performance. Every inch of the car was designed to ensure that the driver felt connected to the road, to the engine, and to the experience of driving a car that was born for speed. But despite all of its potential, the Lone Star was never given the chance to make its mark on the automotive world. Ford, which held a controlling interest in Shelby's operations at the time, didn't see a future for the car. They were focused on other projects, particularly the GT40 program, and didn't believe that a car like the Lone Star would fit into their strategy. They were already committed to the Cobra, and the Lone Star, despite its innovations, didn't fit into their long-term plans. At the time, Ford's focus was on producing cars that would appeal to the mass market, and they weren't willing to take a risk on a low-volume, high-performance car that could have competed with European supercars. And so, the Lone Star was quietly shelved. Shelby's ambitious vision was set aside, and the prototype that had been built was either scrapped or hidden away. There are rumors that a few prototypes may have survived, tucked away in private collections. But the official story is that the Lone Star disappeared without a trace, its future as a production car never realized. If the Lone Star had been allowed to reach the public, it could have changed the landscape of American performance cars. The story of the 1970 Chevrolet Corvette ZL2 is one of the great what-ifs in the history of American performance cars. A car that could have redefined what a Corvette was capable of, but was instead crushed by corporate concerns and never given a chance to reach the public. It is often overshadowed by its more famous counterpart, the ZL1, But in many ways, the ZL2 was even more radical, even more extreme, and perhaps even more powerful. Yet it would never see the light of day. The ZL1 Corvette, with its all-aluminum 427 big block V8 engine, had already set a new standard for performance, offering mind-boggling power and a weight-saving design that made it an absolute weapon on the street and track. But for a few months in 1970, Chevrolet was working on an even more potent iteration of the ZL1, the ZL2. The ZL2 was a car that had the potential to overshadow everything GM had already built, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in terms of performance, technology, and design. At the heart of the ZL2 was the 454 big block engine, which was designed to deliver even more power than the 427 in the ZL1. The 454 was a monster, capable of producing tremendous potential to be the ultimate Corvette, a muscle car that could perform with the best of them, while still retaining the raw power and aggressiveness that made the Corvette a symbol of American performance. But GM never allowed the ZL2 to see the light of day. Despite the incredible engineering that had gone into the car, corporate realities quickly set in. The ZL2 was an expensive and complex project, and GM was already focusing on other priorities. The automotive world in 1970 was shifting. Fuel economy, emissions, and safety were becoming increasingly important, and GM feared that the ZL2, with its big block engine and extreme performance, would clash with these new priorities. It was simply too radical, too expensive, and too risky in the eyes of GM's executives. In addition to the corporate hesitation, there was also the reality of the shifting muscle car market. The early 1970s saw the end of the golden age of muscle cars, with insurance premiums skyrocketing and tighter emissions regulations taking hold. GM began to back away. 1971 AMC AMX3 is one of the most fascinating what-could-have-been stories in the world of American performance cars. The idea of AMC, a company known for producing relatively affordable cars, venturing into the world of mid-engine supercars seems utterly absurd in retrospect. Yet in the late 1960s and early 1970s, AMC had the ambition and the vision to challenge the European giants like Ferrari and Lamborghini. The AMX3 was the product of that bold ambition, and while it was never given the chance to reach production, its existence still sparks wonder among car enthusiasts to this day. The AMX3 was originally conceived as a high-performance sports car with an exotic flair, designed to compete with the likes of the Porsche 911, Ferrari 308, and even the Lamborghini Miura. It was to be a bold move for AMC, which had a reputation for making affordable, practical cars, but had never ventured into the territory of high-end exotic automobiles. However, the AMX3 showed that AMC was capable of thinking outside the box and had the engineering know-how to build something truly special. The car's most striking feature was its mid-engine layout. At the time, mid-engine cars were the domain of the European elite, with manufacturers like Ferrari and Lamborghini setting the standard for performance and design. But AMC, with its small size and limited resources, set out to create a car that could compete on that same stage, and the AMX3 was born. With its sleek, wedge-shaped design, wide stance, and aggressive lines, the AMX3 looked every bit the part of a high-performance supercar. Its styling was influenced by the era's fascination with futuristic, aerodynamic forms, sharp edges, sloping rooflines, and minimalistic yet muscular proportions. It was the embodiment of the spirit of the 1970s. Under the hood, the AMX3 was equipped with a 390 cubic inch V8 engine, a power plant that was capable of producing well over 300 horsepower. While this may not sound like much by today's standards, in the early 1970s, it was more than enough to propel the AMX3 to a top speed that could rival the finest Italian supercars. Early tests of the car showed it to be a true performer, with a handling and driving experience that was on par with, or even superior to, many European competitors of the time. The AMX3 was tested extensively in Europe, with prototypes driven on both the open road and racetracks. It was lauded for its precise handling, its agile and responsive steering, and its aggressive performance. There were even rumors that the car was faster than some Ferraris of the era, testament to how much potential AMC had packed into the AMX3's relatively modest V8 engine. But despite all the accolades, the AMX3 faced insurmountable challenges. The biggest issue AMC faced was financial. While the company had the vision to create such a car, it did not have the deep pockets or the manufacturing capabilities to bring it to market. The production costs of the AMX3 were astronomical, and AMC, which was already struggling financially in the early 1970s, simply didn't have the resources to fund the project. The automotive market was shifting, with oil crises, economic downturns, and tightening emissions regulations casting a shadow over the performance car world. The mid-engine supercar dream was becoming more and more out of reach for a company like AMC. In addition to the financial struggles, there was also the looming reality of competition. At the time, American muscle cars were at their peak, but they were rapidly being overtaken by rising insurance premiums and emissions regulations. Muscle car enthusiasts were beginning to demand more than just raw power. They wanted refinement, handling, and sleek designs. AMC had a brief flirtation with performance-focused cars like the AMX and the Javelin, but the AMX3 was a much more ambitious project that needed significant investment, which AMC simply couldn't afford. Ultimately, the AMX3 project was abandoned, and the handful of prototypes that were built became nothing more than a footnote in the history of American performance cars. Only 6 AMX3 prototypes were ever constructed, and many of them disappeared into the ether. Some were reportedly dismantled, while others were kept in private collections, hidden away from the public eye. A few remained in Europe for a time, but even those were eventually lost or locked away. Despite its impressive performance credentials and its exotic looks, the AMX3 would never see mass production, and its potential as an American supercar was never realized. The AMX3 represents a strange lost chapter in the history of American automobiles. One where a small company dared to dream big and build something that could have rivaled the best in the world. In an era when American manufacturers were mostly concerned with raw power and brute force, AMC's attempt to build a sophisticated, high-performance sports car was ahead of its time. The 1973 Pontiac Trans Am Super Duty 455 SCCA prototype is one of the true lost legends of American muscle cars. Known for its raw power, aggressive styling, and racing pedigree, the Trans Am Super Duty 455 SCCA prototype was Pontiac's attempt to craft a car that could dominate the competitive landscape of the Sports Car Club of America, SCCA, racing series. It was designed to be a performance monster, capable of taking on the best the industry had to offer. But due to a combination of bad timing and shifting regulations, it was buried in the sands of time, forever relegated to the category of what might have been. At its core, the 1973 Trans Am Super Duty 455 prototype was a true powerhouse. The heart of this beast was the iconic Super Duty 455 engine, a powerhouse V8 that was one of the most respected power plants in the muscle car world. This engine was far from ordinary. It featured high-compression pistons and a race cam, which gave it the kind of performance that could leave even the most powerful competitors in the dust. Coupled with a more refined and aggressive suspension setup, the car had the potential to become a dominant force on the track, making it a perfect fit for SCCA competition. In fact, Pontiac's goal with this car was to build a race-winning machine. The Super Duty 455 prototype was developed with aerodynamics in mind, making sure that it was not just fast in a straight line, but agile on the track as well. The engineers worked hard to refine every detail, ensuring the car could handle the rigorous demands of high-speed racing while still being a roadworthy machine. The Trans Am, with its bold design and powerful engine, was already a known force in muscle car culture. But the Super Duty 455 was going to take it to another level, one that could push the boundaries of American performance in ways no one had seen before. But just as the car seemed ready to make its mark on the racing world, a combination of factors led to its untimely demise. One of the biggest hurdles the project faced was the shifting landscape of automotive regulations. The early 1970s saw the beginning of stricter emission standards, which drastically changed the direction of the performance car industry. The rising tide of government-imposed emissions laws was beginning to stifle the once unfettered horsepower of American muscle cars. As a result, The car that Pontiac had built to dominate the SCCA was suddenly seen as too extreme for the new regulatory environment. The Super Duty engine's high compression and race-ready specs made it incompatible with the upcoming emissions rules, and GM's corporate leadership, ever mindful of avoiding trouble, pulled the plug on the project. Rather than pushing forward with a car that could have revolutionized American motorsports, Pontiac was forced to backtrack. The engine was detuned to meet the stringent emission standards, and the car that had been built for racing was neutered, losing much of its raw power and aggression. What could have been a legendary vehicle that would dominate not only the SCCA, but also become a symbol of Pontiac's racing prowess, was lost in a sea of compromise. What remains of the Super Duty 455 SCCA prototype today is a ghost, a shadow of what it could have been. Only a few prototypes were ever built, and they were never intended to see mass production. Most of the original prototypes were destroyed or modified, and the few that survive are rarely seen in public. The car's legacy is a tale of missed potential, a reminder of how regulatory changes and corporate decisions can bury something truly special before it ever gets the chance to show its full potential. In the years since, the Pontiac Trans Am has remained an icon in American automotive history. Its distinct styling, its place in popular culture, and its undeniable presence on the street make it one of the most beloved muscle cars of all time. But the 1973 Super Duty 455 SCCA prototype, despite its incredible potential, has faded into obscurity, known only to the most dedicated of enthusiasts and collectors. The car's true significance is found in the history that was left behind. The vision of a racing-ready, high-performance muscle car that could have reshaped the landscape of motorsport. It was a car that came at the crossroads of American performance and government regulations. A project that could have made Pontiac a true leader in motorsport, but was ultimately forced to accept a different path. Had the Super Duty 455 prototype seen production, it could have become the stuff of legend. But instead, it became a forgotten prototype, a glimpse into an alternate reality where the muscle car wars were defined not by compromise, but by raw, unadulterated power. The 1976 Cadillac Mirage pickup is one of those wild, almost unbelievable ideas that was ahead of its time. Imagine the luxury and prestige of a Cadillac, sleek, refined, and dripping with opulence, combined with the utility of a pickup truck. It wasn't just a vehicle, it was a statement. The Mirage pickup represented Cadillac's bold venture into a market no one had yet considered: luxury trucks. With its massive V8 engine, plush leather seats, and the kind of high-end finishes you'd expect from Cadillac, it was everything a traditional truck wasn't: refined, sophisticated, and unmistakably luxurious. At a time when pickups were predominantly seen as utilitarian workhorses, the Cadillac Mirage pickup redefined what a truck could be. It wasn't just about hauling, it was about doing so with style and grace. The Mirage was as much about performance as it was about comfort, with the kind of V8 that could power through anything while still offering the smooth, refined driving experience Cadillac was known for. The interior, swathed in fine leather and luxury features, felt more like the cabin of a limousine than a work truck. It was the kind of vehicle that combined rugged utility with the plush, comfortable ride Cadillac was famous for. A hybrid of sorts, a truck with a taste of high-class sophistication. But despite its clear potential, the Mirage was met with skepticism by GM's corporate brass. They didn't believe the market was ready for a luxury pickup, especially one from Cadillac, a brand synonymous with high-end sedans, coupes, and convertibles. Pickup trucks, at the time, were the domain of blue-collar workers, not luxury buyers. GM, perhaps seeing it as a risk that wouldn't pay off, decided to pull the plug on the Mirage. They couldn't see the vision that the Cadillac Mirage pickup embodied, the blending of luxury and utility, the perfect vehicle for someone who needed the utility of a truck but didn't want to sacrifice comfort and status. The Mirage never saw the light of day as a production model. The few prototypes that were built were quietly buried in the annals of automotive history, leaving only a small trail of whispers about the vehicle that could have been. It was a rare example of a concept that was too advanced, too ahead of its time for the market to grasp. The idea of a luxury pickup truck was inconceivable in the mid-1970s, but it would eventually become a reality years later, though not in the way Cadillac had originally envisioned. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the idea of a luxury pickup was reintroduced, albeit under a different name and with a different brand. The Cadillac Escalade EXT, which debuted in 2002, took the concept of the luxury truck and made it a mainstream reality. With its bold styling, luxury interior, and rugged capability, the Escalade EXT proved that there was indeed a market for high-end pickups. The truck, though different in many respects from the Mirage, was a testament to Cadillac's original idea. It showed that blending luxury and utility was not just a passing whim, but a lasting trend that had the potential to resonate with buyers. Looking back at the Cadillac Mirage pickup now, it's clear that GM's decision to shelve it was a missed opportunity. The Mirage was a visionary concept, an automotive precursor to what would later become a lucrative market segment. Cadillac, decades ahead of its time, imagined a future where pickup trucks could be just as opulent as sedans, where people could have the best of both worlds, luxury and utility. It's an idea that was rejected, but one that would ultimately be realized by other automakers in the years to come. In the end, the Cadillac Mirage pickup remains one of the great what-ifs of automotive history. It was a vehicle that could have changed the game, a true luxury truck that would have set the stage for everything that came after it. The Escalade EXT may have made the idea a reality, but the Mirage was the one that started it all. If only GM had seen the potential back in 1976, they might have paved the way for a whole new class of vehicles, one that blended the best of luxury and utility long before the world was ready for it. The 1980 Chevrolet Citation X11 Turbo prototype is one of the most intriguing what-could-have-been stories in automotive history. When the Citation debuted in 1980, it was marketed as a practical, fuel-efficient, compact car, something that could compete with the likes of the Ford Escort and the Chrysler Horizon. In the minds of many, it was the embodiment of the economic necessity of the early 80s, when gas prices were high and efficiency was the name of the game. But unbeknownst to the public, Chevrolet had a much more exciting version of the Citation hidden behind closed doors, one that could have radically altered its legacy. The Citation X11 Turbo prototype was the brainchild of a team of engineers who saw untapped potential in the compact car segment, and they wanted to push the boundaries of what was possible in a car that was supposed to be all about practicality and value. The project was ambitious for its time. The goal was to build a high-performance version of the Citation that would utilize a turbocharged V6 engine, which was already making waves in other segments of the auto industry, albeit in larger, more expensive vehicles. With a turbocharged V6 under the hood, the X11 would have been a quick, nimble car, ready to take on a new era of compact performance. It was supposed to be a sleeper, a car that didn't look like it belonged on a racetrack, but could leave other cars in the dust when the pedal hit the metal. In terms of engineering, the Citation X11 Turbo was set to deliver big numbers. The turbocharged V6 was expected to push out a substantial amount of power, enough to make the Citation not just a rival to traditional compact cars, but also a worthy contender against some of the performance-oriented vehicles of the time. The idea of a turbocharged economy car wasn't exactly new, but GM was hesitant to take a risk with it. Many in the industry knew that this type of car had the potential to dominate the market, but GM was cautious about its reliability and the potential for issues with turbocharging in a mass-market car. Despite its potential, GM's corporate culture and concerns about the reliability of turbocharged engines in everyday cars ultimately led to the cancellation of the X11 Turbo project. The engineers who worked on the prototype believed it could have been the car that changed the performance car landscape in the early 80s, introducing turbocharging and small displacement performance engines to a broader market. But GM at that time wasn't ready to take the leap. They worried that the turbocharged engine might have too many reliability issues, or that the public might not understand or embrace a turbocharged version of the Citation. The marketing department was also unsure how to position such a car in the market. Was it a performance car or an economy car? What would the mainstream buyer think? In the end, GM made the decision to keep the turbocharged Citation a secret, And as a result, the X11 Turbo prototype was scrapped. It wasn't just a matter of shelving the idea, it was completely erased. Any trace of the car was wiped away, and the prototype models were destroyed or buried in GM's history archives. The corporate fear of moving too far away from the image they had carefully cultivated for the Citation led to the project's premature demise. The decision to cancel the X11 Turbo was, in hindsight, a missed opportunity for GM. The 1980s saw the rise of compact performance cars, with models like the Volkswagen GTI and the Dodge Omni GLH, proving that small cars could be fun to drive and fast enough to take on larger, more expensive cars. Had the Citation X11 Turbo made it to production, it would have been one of the first American compact performance cars with turbocharging, and it might have set the stage for a new era in which American manufacturers could lead the charge in compact performance. Instead, the standard Citation was released, which, while a solid and reliable car, didn't exactly ignite the hearts of driving enthusiasts. It was a car that delivered in terms of economy and practicality, but it didn't inspire passion the way some of the more exciting compact cars of the era did. While other manufacturers were busy experimenting with hot hatchbacks and turbocharged sedans, GM stuck with their more conventional, less risky designs. The X11 Turbo, however, would have been a completely different beast, a performance car in the compact body of an economy vehicle and a true game-changer in GM's lineup. As the years passed, GM's competitors continued to push the envelope, and it became increasingly clear that the compact performance segment was something that American manufacturers had underestimated. If GM had embraced the X11 Turbo prototype, it could have been a precursor to the kind of performance models that eventually came to define the modern compact performance car market. By the time GM finally embraced turbocharging in the 80s and 90s, the 1956 Chrysler Norseman was meant to be a showstopper, a vision of the future wrapped in sleek aluminum and cutting-edge engineering. Designed by Chrysler's advanced styling team in collaboration with the renowned Italian coach builder Carrozzeria Ghia, it was a car decades ahead of its time, pillarless, aerodynamically sculpted, and featuring one of the most radical roof designs ever attempted. But before the world could lay eyes on this futuristic machine, tragedy struck. The Norseman met its fate not in the hands of Chrysler's designers or corporate executives, but at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, sealed away in the wreck of the Andrea Doria. The story of the Norseman begins in the early 1950s, when Chrysler was looking to push the boundaries of automotive design. Virgil Exner, the company's legendary design chief, had already begun reshaping Chrysler's image with bold, streamlined, forward-look styling. But he wanted something even more revolutionary, a car that would showcase what Chrysler was truly capable of, free from the constraints of mass production. This wouldn't be just another concept car. It would be an engineering marvel, a fully functional prototype that could be driven, studied, and eventually influence future models. The most striking feature of the Norseman was its cantilevered roof. Unlike conventional cars, which relied on thick pillars for structural support, the Norseman's roof was suspended without visible support at the rear, an almost impossible feat at the time. Chrysler engineers designed a hidden structural framework within the body, using aluminum and advanced reinforcement techniques to distribute weight and maintain rigidity. The result was a roof that seemed to float in midair, creating an open, pillarless greenhouse that flooded the cabin with light. It was a precursor to the T-top and modern panoramic sunroofs, years ahead of anything else on the market. The rest of the car was just as striking. Its fastback profile was sleek and aerodynamic. Its sculpted aluminum body giving it a lightness and fluidity that was rare for American cars of the era. The front featured a distinctive recessed grille flanked by quad headlights. Another futuristic touch, considering that most cars in 1956 still had only two headlights. The rear end tapered into sharp tail fins, subtly integrated rather than exaggerated like the flamboyant fins that would dominate the late 50s. Every line, every curve was designed with purpose, a fusion of Italian artistry and American ambition. Beneath its avant-garde body, the Norseman was no mere showpiece. It was a fully functional automobile equipped with a powerful Chrysler V8 engine, a push-button automatic transmission, and an advanced suspension system designed to provide both performance and comfort. Chrysler wasn't just building a beautiful car, they were testing new materials, new construction techniques, and new design philosophies that could have shaped the future of automotive manufacturing. After months of painstaking work at Kia's Italian factory, the Norseman was finally completed in the summer of 1956. It was carefully packed for shipment to the United States, where it was scheduled to make its debut at Chrysler's headquarters before being showcased on the auto show circuit. But it would never arrive. On July 25, 1956, the Andrea Doria, the luxury ocean liner carrying the Norseman, collided with the MS Stockholm off the coast of Nantucket. The impact was catastrophic. As the ship listed heavily to one side, chaos erupted among the passengers and crew. Rescue operations saved many lives, but within hours, the Andrea Doria slipped beneath the waves, taking the Norseman, still secured in the cargo hold, down with it. Chrysler executives waited for word, hoping that somehow the car had been saved. But it was gone. No backups existed. No secondary prototypes were built. The Norseman had vanished before a single journalist, designer, or engineer outside of Chrysler and Ghia could see it in person. It became the rarest concept car in history, one that no one ever truly got to admire. The loss was more than symbolic. The Norseman had been a significant investment in time, money, and engineering. Chrysler had planned to study its construction, refine its radical ideas, and potentially incorporate them into future production models. But without the car, those plans were abandoned. The cantilevered roof never made it to production, and its advanced aluminum body techniques were largely forgotten. Chrysler moved on, shifting its focus to more practical designs, and the Norseman became a footnote in automotive history, an idea lost to the deep. Decades later, divers exploring the wreck of the Andrea Doria have reported seeing glimpses of what might be the Norseman, entombed in the ship's remains. But after nearly 70 years underwater, it's almost certainly been reduced to little more than corroded metal.